In this video, I'm going to talk about deployment pipeline configuration app. Now, deployment pipeline configuration app allows you to configure the pipelines for an environment which participates in the managed environment. Now, again, it's a managed environment feature. Okay. Now you can use deployment pipeline configuration app on an environment which is not a managed environment. So you can install that in an environment which is not a managed environment. However, if you want to run the pipeline against an environment, that environment should be a managed environment. Okay. So in nutshell, I would say, like, if you have say dev environment and test environment and prod environment, now you want to move the solution from dev to test to prod. Okay. Then all this dev, test, and prod environment needs to be a managed environment. Okay, they have to be managed. However, if you want to view this app, deployment pipeline configuration app, that can be hosted in a separate environment, which I will call it as a host environment. And this host environment need not be a managed environment. So the deployment pipeline configuration app resides in the host environment. Okay. And this controls the pipeline behavior from moving from dev to test to prod. Okay. So this is how this logic works. Okay. Now, it's a model driven app. You can configure the following items in the deployment pipeline configuration app. You can create an environment. Create means it is just a reference to an environment. You can create a pipeline. You can link the dev environment to a pipeline. You can add deployment stages to a pipeline. You can view the pipeline dashboard. You can view the run history for the pipeline, and you can view the solution artifacts. Now, all these things are part of this model driven app. Now, I have covered in detail, in depth, in one of my video on how to actually do the ALM process. I'm not going to cover that ALM process, but this video is just to make aware of what this app is all about and what does the app contains. Okay. So if you see, I have this environment already provisioned. It is called as ALM pipeline host. First thing what you need to do is, like, you need to select this environment and then go to resources and go to Dynamics 365 apps. And then under Dynamics 365 apps, if you search for pipeline, then you will see Power Platform Pipeline. If this app is not installed, you need to install this app. So that's the first step. Once you have this app installed, navigate to make.powerapps.com, and then, in this make.powerapps.com, you will go into apps, and then you will find this deployment pipeline configuration. But before we even go into this app, I just need to understand that if I go into the solution, what all artifacts get installed when you install that Dynamics 365 pipeline app. Okay. So then, if you see over here, let me show you over here. These are the solution which gets by default deployed. Okay, so if you see over here, so there is an app deployment anchor solution, app deployment model app, Microsoft app deployment metadata, FCS app deployment pipeline solution. Let's go into the solution one by one. Now, in this solution, if you see, there is nothing but a feature control setting. Okay, so it's just a feature control setting as a part of FCS app deployment. If you go into the second solution, Microsoft app deployment metadata, it has a lot of information, like in terms of choices, in terms of custom API, plugin steps, and security role. Now, the security role is coming from here: deployment pipeline user, deployment pipeline administrator, app deployment orchestration role. Now, remember why the security role is important is because if you want to run a pipeline, you need not have a global admin or a Power Platform admin role. If it's a pipeline user, then you can assign this pipeline user role to a specific user, and that user can run the pipeline. Okay, so that rules and all are set using this solution. Coming back to the third solution, which is app deployment model app. Now, this is where the model app resides. Okay, so it has two tables: deployment pipeline, deployment stage run. It has got an app, which is a model driven app, which we are going to go through it in a while. Okay, coming back to another solution, which is an app deployment anchor solution, which has technically nothing in it. Okay, so I don't see anything over here, but then uh, what is the need for this app, I'm not sure. Okay, uh, let you guys put in the comment below that whether the solution adds any value. But let's move to the app deployment model app. Now, app deployment model app, if you go into the apps, you can trigger from here, play this app, or you can go into make.powerapps.com and then trigger that application. So let me go into that make.powerapps.com. So if I go here, if I go into the apps, deployment pipeline configuration, I'll run this app. Okay. Now let me run this app. This is a model driven app which gets triggered, and then it says clearly pipeline is a feature of managed environment. Okay. So if you want to use this app, make sure all the participating environments are of type managed environment. Now, in the overview section, you will see pipelines dashboard. Now, this is a nice dashboard which you see over here. Now, it has got one option. It has got active deployment pipeline. So we have three pipelines created well before, uh, ahead of time. Then there's a run history. So how many runs have been completed. So it shows you that, and deployments per day. Okay, so these are the deployments which was conducted on day 1, day 2, and day 3. Okay, so and all the deployments were succeeded, none of them failed. Second, environments. Now here all the participating environment you can add. Okay, now I have already added three environments over here. Now the step to add is like simple new. You just need to name the environment, and then you need to select whether it is a dev environment or a target environment. Remember, all the development environments are of type development environment, and anything apart from dev environment will be a target environment. So if you have a stage environment, if you have a UAT environment, if you have a sit environment, if you have a test environment, or if you have a production environment, it's a target environment. Okay, environment ID, again you need to go into the Power Platform admin center, and then you need to get the GUID of the specific environment. Okay, for me, I have already added this security dev environment over here, and I've added this environment ID. Okay, so that's about setting up the environment. Now this is the first step to configure your pipeline. Once you set up this environment, you go ahead, go to your pipeline, and then you click on new pipeline. Once you click on new pipeline, you need to fill in some information like name, description, save the record. Once you save the record, you go into deployment stages. Now, let me show you for one example which I have created. Under deployment stages, I have added two stages: deployment dev to stage, stage to prod. Now, this configuration, you need to specify by clicking on new deployment stage, and then you need to specify what target environment ID you're preparing for. So if I select over here, if I want to move from say dev to test, I'll select test over here. If I want to select to prod, then I will select the prod environment over here. So that's a target environment where you will be deploying the solution. Now, you can see the run history over here. Okay, you will see a nice little table over here showing the status. Also, you can see the run history under deployments. Okay, you will see more details. If you want to see more details for this deployment, then you can click over here, and then you can see some more information. Okay, you can also see the show chart option to see how this is spanned in the form of a report. Or let's assume if this pipeline is going on, then there is another option which you can do. You can cancel the deployment from here. Okay, now this is also an important step if you want to cancel the deployment, because when you start deploying the solution, you may not get an option to cancel the deployment. Now here you can do that cancel deployment. Solution artifact. Now here, any solution which you deploy will have an artifact generated. Like when you deploy the solution from dev to test, you may have a managed and an unmanaged solution which gets created. So if I go into say marketing app over here, I can download this solution managed.zip and unmanaged.zip just to put it in my offline repository. So those all things can be done, and it will also show you deployment information like what all deployments have been done so far, with some more detailed information. Okay, and then you can even delete this deployment status if you don't want to see. Now this one, AI generated solution description, this is not yet come, but I think over a period of time this might generate the description details, because many people fail to put the description details while creating those pipeline. So it will start, putting some text using some artificial intelligence. Okay, so that's it, folks. This is all about deployment pipeline configuration. It allows you to configure the environment, allows you to configure the pipelines, view the run history, view the solution artifacts, and then see a nice bit of visual in the pipeline dashboard. So thanks for watching.